I'm gonna put you on the spot right now.
All right.
I need top 5.
Oh.
And I don't want to limit you to Nashville.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say Tennessee.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say Tennessee artists. I don't know if limited to Nashville.
I'm
is
limited
that
to
better?
Nashville.
Is that
That makes
better
it-
for you?
yes, that's better for
okay,
me. Yes.
let's go.
Yes.
And then I might still want top 5 Tennessee.
That's tough. So
Let's
top
go
5
Nashville.
Tennessee in no particular order.
No
I think
particular order.
obviously Lido and Buck.
Okay, so that's
up
2.
There. Yeah, Quantity,
Cash,
Paper, City Paper.
City Paper.
5th one's a tough one because
I think you forgetting something. I'm gonna be really
oh my
surprised
God.
if you forget one like that came before all of them. Welcome everyone to another episode of A Slice of the Community. I'm your host, Jerome Moore, and today we have an infamous guest, Nashville legend, music legend here in Middle Tennessee, Dolewite, DJ personality with 101.1 The Beat Jams. Dolewite and Scooby. I always wanted to say that, man. Welcome to the show, man.
And thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited as a Nashville native to finally sit down and talk with you about music, your life, history. I want to give you your flowers right now, a whole bouquet of them, because I don't know if you understand that many of us grew up with your voice on the radio. That's all we know as far as the hip hop genre. Dolewite, Scooby, synonymous hip hop legend, and so I don't know how much credit a lot of people give you, but I'm gonna give you your credit and your flowers right now. So thank you for the experiences and the journey that you took me on, and many others personally, in music with hip hop right here in Middle Tennessee, Nashville, Music City, all of that. So thank you, man.
Man, thank you for saying that. That growing up as a kid that listened to radio every day of my life, locked myself in my room at 8 o'clock to listen to Ryan Cameron on V103 in Atlanta, where I grew up. And then to hear somebody else kind of say, I did the same thing, except you were the one on the radio. That means more to me than I can really have the words to express. So thank you.
Man, it's well deserved, and I know many people watching this gonna have to feel the same way. And so, again, a whole bouquet.
Thank you.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of flowers.
Thank you.
Man, I want to get right into it. And this is, I just think it's important to acknowledge this, because I know he was your brother. He was a big part of just who you are as a man, your career. Scooby, rest in power, Scooby. How did his passing just affect your passion for music? Did you want to continue doing it? How did you take that?
I think there was an adjustment, a big adjustment, because if you go from talking to somebody, not just somebody, but like literally dude was like my brother, my best friend, for 15 years from the time we were met in college at 18 to the time we were on the beat at that point, 10 years. And we did college radio together for 5 years. And then it was 15 years that this is my best friend. And then there's an adjustment period of going from a 2-person show to a 1-person show, which I had to find out who am I without this person here. And that took a while. And I would still rather him be there now, you know what I mean, 10, 11 years later, than, do the show on my own. There was a lot of uncertainty, you know what I mean? When something like that happens, I think you wonder, do I continue doing this? Do I want to continue doing this? How do I continue doing this? Who am I without this person? And it was a big adjustment period. It's probably the thing that the biggest, besides having a child, probably the biggest career-wise anyway, the biggest change in my life I've ever experienced. It's like he was connected to everything that I did, everything that I had personally as well. So I mean, he was my best friend. So you lose your best friend, my business partner. So then everything he handled then falls on my shoulders. And then there's the part of the radio show where I don't have this person to talk to, not just on air, but also like off air. And it's like, you do a break and then all of a sudden it's just like silence and there's nobody there anymore. And it's different. It's different.
With Scoob not by your side anymore, what was the naysayers probably saying? Like, oh, Can you do a radio show by yourself? Did you lose any credibility yourself by not having Scoob right there with you?
Not right away, no. I think honestly, like I don't know that I've ever felt more love from a community than I did at that point. Like Nashville really kind of like wrapped their arms around me. You know what I mean? And I think that's less about me and more about the person that he was.
Right.
Because Scoob and I were, as much as we were the same, we were very different individuals. And he was a very embracing person. He's the person that would, if you met him, we used to joke because he would meet somebody and then like 3 seconds later they would be telling him their entire life story. And I'd be like, bro, I don't know why people do this to you all the time, but I'm sorry that, you know what I mean? And,
right.
And so he was that guy. So he never forgot anybody. I forget everybody's face, everybody's name. Like I'm awful memory. I mean, I'm basically like rendered handicapped after he left because I couldn't remember anybody's name anymore. Right. You know what I mean? He was the one that was always there to be like, hey, that's blah, blah, blah. We know them from, and he was just a very embracing person.
Yeah.
And so I think that a lot of people, as time went on, maybe expected that from me, and it's just not who I am. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna go do my thing over here, but for Scoob, I think a lot of people, especially people he was close with, sometimes, or not even people that I won't even say the people he was close with, they felt that the way I did. It's like he had 100 best friends, you know what I'm saying? And everybody, a lot of people felt the way about him the way I did.
Yeah, I just thought it was important for us to have that brief conversation about that, because I know how much not only he means to the city and just music, but also to you. So I appreciate you, you know, getting a little vulnerable and talking about that, because I think, like, again, it's different from reading it in the papers, you know, but seeing you talk about it personally and open up and really know, like, he was your brother, he was your best friend. It was way past radio. I think, like, I appreciate that, because I think we all have people like that in our life. They might not always be our colleagues, but it's like, you know, losing anybody is devastating, but like losing a best friend, a peer, a colleague, a teammate, it hits different. So I appreciate you opening up about that. Now, Dolewite. I like how you played the name on Dolomite.
Yeah.
So how is it being a DJing personality, a white DJing personality in a predominant black space?
I think that it is, I think earlier people had more of a reaction to it than they do now.
Okay.
When I was, 18, 19 and had Georgia Southern, I'd be like, no, I'm a DJ. And they'd be like, no, for real, like, seriously. I'm like, no, like, there's records in my car. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And now it's not as uncommon.
Right.
I do think it's important because I see a lot of other white DJs. I do think it's important that if you're going to be in this space, that you contribute more to, in some way, societally, to use your platform, your voice, whatever it is you have, to be on the right side of certain issues and arguments to be had. I have seen in the past, and not here in Nashville, just nationally, a couple All Lives Matter white DJs, and I've been like, yeah, bro, you need to find another occupation. You know what I mean?
How did you figure that out, like, for yourself, and understanding, like, I'm a kind of a guest in this space, right? I'm a guest in this space, and I love hip hop. I love this music, but like, when did you really realize and understand that, like, that your voice and your presence means something different and can be even more powerful in some instances, speaking up about some of the things you're talking about?
I think it was a long process, and it's one of those things where I still learn things every day. I think the first thing, all white people, whether you're a DJ or you're the CEO of whatever company, it doesn't matter. We're all white people. The first thing we need to all do is really listen to the issues that black people particularly, but all minorities, but black people particularly have. We need to sit down and listen and say, all right, open mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. I want to hear you.
Right.
And I think most white people, myself included, struggle with that, especially being brought up in this country where it's, this is the greatest country in the world, blah, blah, blah. That's what you're taught when you're white, and you grow up and you kind of almost brainwashed into thinking that. But I think if you diversify the people around you, if you diversify your friends, and if you and I are friends, I have an obligation, no matter the racial barrier or not, to hear you out and to listen to you and to listen to your point of view.
Right.
And I don't think enough white people do that. I read a book by Robin DiAngelo called White Fragility. And she made a point in the book to literally say, if white people don't, if I have a child with a white woman, right, and we had a white baby, and the white child is growing up, and they have all white friends surrounding them, I don't look at that child and say, why are your friends white? You got to diversify a little bit. You got to learn how to move in different spaces.
Right.
We don't stress that to our children. And whereas if you're any other race, you have to learn how to move in white spaces a little bit.
Right.
And I had never thought about that before. So every day is a learning period, a learning experience. And between Scoob and, my wife, especially my wife has dragged me kicking and screaming about, certain things that I was bullheaded to.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I have more of the approach conversations less defensively and more of, if I said something that offended you, it's not like I don't try to over-explain it or white-splain it or anything. I'm just like, yo, my bad. How did that offend you? Like, let's talk about it. Like, tell me how you.
I want to learn and grow from that.
I want to learn that.
Yeah.
And that is, to me, the approach that all white people should take.
In hip hop spaces, right?
In every space.
But no, I want to concentrate like on the hip hop space, right? Where ownership is still predominantly white. When you're talking about labels, records, distribution, those things. What are those kind of conversations, or what are some of those moments where you may have to like talk to a peer or a colleague that might be white and maybe missing that? Like talk to us about
happens.
like.
I mean, it happens, and luckily, in the space that I've been since I've been the program director and kind of in charge of these certain things and things that I have to keep my staff protected from or whatever.
Right.
I've had higher ups in the company that have listened, and I've said, hey, like, I can't ask this person to do this thing that you've asked them to, that you want me to ask them to do.
Right.
And these are the reasons why.
Right.
And that's been it.
Right.
And there's never been any pushback. So I haven't had to. I've had to have that discussion.
Right.
I haven't had to have that fight, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
that makes sense.
I haven't had to be like, absolutely not. This cannot happen. You're going to fire somebody here.
Right.
It's never been that way. It's always been like, oh, okay, I get it. Yes, we'll have somebody else do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that's great to hear. And again, that's why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation, because again, I think it's important for us to know as Nashvillians and Middle Tennesseans, like, hey, like I really, like, as a voice of music in Nashville in a predominantly, black genre, like, you've been leading that. And I've just been curious of, like, the power in your voice. What do you think about that? Have you used that to not only, like, elevate music, but, like, elevate social change or address things when like, people are hearing you on the airwaves?
I think the biggest thing that I can contribute is not necessarily taking a side when it comes for my black friends and family to hear,
right?
But taking a side for my white friends and family to hear, and that's been a tough one,
right,
in my personal life that has been tough.
What's been the toughest thing about that?
I have family members that are not as racially open as I am, or that are racist. I have racist family members. And some I have just kind of written off and said, all right,
good riddance.
I can't deal with you. And some I've tried to change to no avail,
right?
So that's been tough personally.
Right.
But the thing that I try to contribute outside of that is, with my podcast or when we have to have those discussions on radio, I feel like, if I'm talking to a predominantly black audience, That's, I think, 60% or so of our audience, 60 to 70%, depending on the quarter. I'm just preaching to the choir.
Right.
But we do have a large percentage of white people that listen as well.
Right.
And those are the people that need to, a lot of times need to change.
Yeah.
Or that at least like something in the culture enough to maybe listen.
Right.
And if I can get them, I feel like I've done a good job.
I want to go back to like the family dynamic, right? You do have a black wife,
I do,
right?
yes.
How has that, y'all have a, biracial child,
We
right?
do.
That identifies black or
We
biracial?
haven't gone, she's 5, we haven't
Okay,
gone there
all right.
yet.
So
you know
that-
what I mean?
but-
She's white passing, I think.
Right.
But yeah.
How has like those conversations and like, how's that like, we still in the South.
Yeah.
We still here, like people still maybe look and figure out like
Yeah.
what has that experience been and what is that new kind of approach for you?
Outside of, it's weird because there have been times when maybe people have stared at us and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
As a white person, I don't notice it. You know what I mean? And that's one of those. That's another one of those things
The
where you're like,
blinders, yeah.
like I don't see it.
You're right.
Like, but that has happened, not often, but it has happened. We live in the city. I work in the city. We're not venturing out to the outside counties very often, and so everything here in Nashville is cool. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's not many issues here.
Right.
The problems that we've had, honestly, have come from my failures to deal with my family members directly, and that's where the issues we have had have come. And a lot of that was just me learning, because when you grow up in a white household, it's accepted. It's hey, even if your family is not racist, even if your parents or whoever have, as they say, don't have a racist bone in their body.
Right.
If a cousin, an uncle, a grandparent says something racist, and you say, hey, why did they say that? There's like, well, that's just how your uncle is. And me learning that that's unacceptable was a tough lesson for me. It really was. Yeah. You didn't think this interview would be going here, did you?
No, I did. No, I did know it was gonna go here. That's why I got you here. That's why this is this interview, right? People at home are gonna be like, I didn't know Dolewite was that into it. Yeah, it's different. Being a white man in hip hop, you see it, we all see it. The white audience members dropping the N-bomb.
Oh yeah, no.
How do you handle that? How do you approach that? Because I'm pretty sure, white audience is probably coming up to you with a different type of energy, approach, maybe not even knowing you're a DJ. Or maybe they know you're a DJ, but because you might share the same skin color as them, they might feel like, I can get off with something.
No.
What is your take on that? What have been situations that you'll probably have to, address maybe that?
Let me say, I have been a DJ in like a club DJ for 25 years at this point, almost 26. I have been blacked out drunk DJing, and I've never one time said dropped the word on the mic. So if I can do it when if I can control whether or not I say that word, and I'm blacked out drunk, you can too, and it's unacceptable. It's like white people, we don't have to have everything. We don't have to have that. We can stay away from that. That way, you offend nobody. You don't have to worry about it. Just omit the word from your vocabulary, no matter what the circumstance is, and you're good.
Man, I'm curious, like, what made you gravitate to hip hop? Like, as a white man, having family members that maybe are not racially diverse mentally, like.
I remember I started really like getting into it probably 7th, 8th grade. Okay. And
this is in Atlanta?
This is in Atlanta.
Okay.
This is early 90s. So this is when you had to find it. You know what I mean? Like hip hop wasn't just like on the radio all the time. It wasn't you had to like go out and like look for it. You know what I mean? I honestly think I grew up with a lot of insecurities, and I think the bravado of it, the confidence of artists in this genre, like I wanted to be confident like that. And I think that kind of drew me towards it more than any other musical genre at that time.
Give us a story of like your beginnings of DJing, like something that like you either did really good or you just failed miserably. But maybe that moment like, like, yes, I can do this, or maybe like, I don't know, like this may not be for me?
That's a good question. Thinking back to the early days, so we're going back to college. I think, I don't know if it was that, you know what? From the time we bought our first turntables, we had a party booked that day. Scooby and I, from the time we linked up, so I did a radio show from 3 to 7 a.m. on the college station at Georgia Southern. And every week, Scoob would come and be like, I'm gonna come to the show with you tonight. I'm like, all right, cool. And then like, it'd be 2:30 in the morning, I'd go knock on his dorm room door and he wouldn't be there, right? I'm like, all right, dude. And so he told me that every week. He finally came one week. In the week he came, he never stopped coming after that. It was immediate. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I can do this by myself.
Right.
But this works.
Team,
this team works, right?
Yeah.
And so that summer we saved up and we were able to buy our turntables, and which, I mean, it's $1,500 setup, which back in the mid '90s it's a lot of money now, but it was a lot of money then. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a lot of money then.
Right.
And we were able to purchase our turntables, and we went back to school and we had parties booked, and it was always we had parties booked, and we're always, for whatever reason, great at knowing what records to play when. We couldn't transition for anything. We were just getting started. We couldn't mix, blend, scratch, none of that.
Right.
But we could rock.
Right.
And I think we always knew the radio thing, the dynamic between the two of us, and the parties, we always knew we could do it.
Right.
I don't know if there was ever a moment where we were like, I think there were moments maybe where we were like, I don't know if this is going to work out.
Right.
But I don't think we thought that we were not good enough for it to work out, if that makes sense.
I want to bring it back home a little bit
Right.
to the Middle Tennessee area
Yeah.
when we talk about hip hop. All right, we talked a little bit about like just the 101.1 itself. Historically, hasn't got a lot of publications around hip hop here in Nashville, the Middle Tennessee region. But you know, there's this thing, this hip hop versus country music dynamic here. Growing up here, and you being on the radio since, you know, I was 10, 11 years old, I know you feel this too. You know, it's like we don't get the credit, we don't get the recognition, but now I think you're seeing a lot of this, you know, this renaissance of just hip hop music here in Nashville. Man, what is your take on that?
Look, man, those mainstream publications they'll do a story every now and again, and that'll be it. You know what I mean? They don't see it, they don't hear it, they don't want to. If they did, they would try harder. But I also think there's something to be said. I think when I moved here, I don't know that many people were proud that they were from Nashville. And I think that has changed, and that has changed without any of those publications, without any of that spotlight. I think now people are proud to be here. I'm proud to live here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that has changed without those publications. And you see a lot of black culture in Nashville go mainstream now. We saw it with Hot Chicken. There was no hot. There would be without Black Nashville. There is no Hot Chicken in the city. Prince's Chicken.
Shout out to him.
Yeah. There is no. And then I don't know. I didn't see much of it. I saw some of the PBS documentary on country music, but come to find out, no black people know country music either. You know what I'm saying?
We know the banjo itself.
Yeah,
from West Africa. We know this.
Yeah, so you find those things out, and I think we're very close to a spotlight being shined on the culture, on Black Nashville, to really highlight the gifts that it has given the city. And the city is not where it is today without Black Nashville. And I think it's sad that the publications haven't. But it's also a testament to the people to continue inventing, being creative without that kind of spotlight on them.
So I know a lot of artists are listening to this, and they want some gems from Dolewite. What can hip hop artists do in Nashville if they're not getting in publications? If we know the barriers and we know the cloud that's over the genre, what can they do to navigate that and pivot around and still maybe break and still maybe, you know what I'm saying, get the music where they want to be in the city of Nashville without having to leave?
I think I think it's been done. I mean, you look at Lido,
Yep.
for instance.
Yep.
I mean, I think if you look at the blueprint that he set, it's there. The question is always, no matter what it is, if you're making food, if you're making music, if you're, whatever it is, it's like if you have a good product, that's great. But how do I get people to like my product? And that's always the question.
What's that blueprint then? Because I know a lot of people know Starlito or All Star, depending on how bad. Like, what is that? Like, paint that picture for us. What is that blueprint for an artist that's listening? Because I know they taking notes right now.
Right.
But what is that blueprint then?
I think what he did, and I don't know. I know Lido well. We've always had a good relationship. I think the thing that he did more than anybody was he was relentless with his music, and he understood social media, blogs, websites better than not just most artists, but most like people at a record labels. You know what I mean? He understood how to get into those systems, how to get his music pushed out in those systems.
Right.
And that's the question you'd have to ask him. Like, how did you do this? You know what I mean?
But even from a DJ lens though, because you could break a record. So what does that look like?
I think it's different now.
Well, it's different now,
Yeah.
But like, so even from now, like, if an artist, like, I'm going to get my music on the radio, because I think radio is still important, but I just even want to be connected with a person like Dolewite that has knowledge, that might have connections. Like, what is that? How does that person do that? How does that artist do that?
I think that an artist I think, first of all, artist has to have a good product. And that's not my opinion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think too many people are like, you're going to really like this record. Well, it doesn't matter if I like this record or not. It matters if the people like the record. Like I told you, I've been a nightclub DJ for, 25 years at this point. One thing, you can have the greatest record in the world. It could be sonically. You could bring me, Michael Jackson Thriller. If that crowd has never heard Michael Jackson Thriller, and I throw it on and the dance floor is packed, they are going to clear out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you have to think about what I do on the radio is kind of the same thing.
Right.
You have all these other options. You can stream, you can punch out to another radio station, you can do all these other things.
Right.
If I play something you don't necessarily like, even if it's a great record, we all know that this record is going to be a hit.
Right.
The first time you hear it, you might punch out on it.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that, I think, first of all, as an artist, that you have to figure out a way to make yourself, your voice, your brand, and your music familiar with people.
Okay.
So like, if you turn on the radio right now and there's an artist's voice that you don't recognize, you've never heard it, you might punch out. But you know Drake's voice, and if it's a Drake record you never heard, you might stay with it a minute if you're a Drake fan. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so artists, the tricky thing about being an artist, about how to get your music heard is, you have to show. Everything is a level, and in order to get to the next level, you have to be able to prove, I've got X amount of people that want to hear my music, I've got X amount of fans that want to see me perform live, I've got this many people buying merch, I've got, you know what I mean?
Right.
And every one of those is a level up.
Well, now everybody, y'all got the secret sauce.
Yeah.
Y'all got the secret sauce.
I don't know what the secret sauce is. I just know how to.
He just gave you the list that y'all can go down, because I think, I guess, especially coming from you, like, I think that matters. Because I think your voice matters, your presence matters, and just what you've done historically in the genre. People want to feed off of that, and I think like that information is going to help somebody, some artists, because maybe they're not thinking about it, or maybe they like, okay, this is what I'm missing.
I think you also have to put your mind in the perspective of the person, or people, or whatever entity that you're trying to get inside of. So if you're trying to get inside of radio, you have to think like, is it a good business model if they play a record that nobody knows? And if nobody knows it, are they going to like it? If that's not a good business model, you wouldn't run your business by doing things that your clientele doesn't like, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're just not going to do that. It's a bad business model.
Hip hop is, it's controversial. It's educational. It's storytelling. What do you feel about the state that hip hop is in now, especially with drill? Man, this is a different sound. It's primarily dominated by a sound from the South, which I think I love it. It's great because I'm a diehard South friend. Yeah, I'm from here, and New York and them, they didn't want to give us our credit for many years, so y'all had to take this. But many people will contribute a lot of the crime, a lot of the things that happen in communities, primarily black communities, you know, hip hop perpetuates that or influences that. What is your take, especially from a white lens and somebody that's on the radio and plays the music?
I think that if you're gonna blame music for things that were systematically happened before that genre of music was around, you're not very bright and you don't know your history. The problems that plague certain communities are there because primary needs aren't being met.
Right.
And so if you want to blame a music or a video game or anything else,
Right.
you don't know much about what's really going on.
Right.
Because these problems have been there long before hip hop came along.
Man, that was beautifully put. Like I don't know, like that statement cleared it because that's what a lot of people will contribute to, especially like with black men, and just feel like hip hop perpetuates a lot of that stuff. But like what you said, kind of just
what I said on my
clears that.
podcast a million times is, we know studies show that the more educated a person is, the least likely they are to commit any type of crime.
Right.
And so if you really want to control crime, do you put more police on the ground in those
Right.
neighborhoods, or do you spend your money in education to make sure kids that are growing up in impoverished neighborhoods get properly educated, and that makes them less likely to one day commit a crime?
They're not ready for this type of Dolewite. They're not ready for this Dolewite right here. So speaking on that, the artists hold any type of social responsibility to the type of music
Good question.
that they put out?
I think that's a great question. I think you could.
We want a great answer, though.
I don't know if I have one.
We want a great answer.
I don't know if I have one. I think that, I think it's one of those situations where no artist is saying, go out there and do this.
Right.
But I think that inadvertently, anybody with any platform can be influential. And how do you want to be influential is the question. I can't answer that for any artist.
Do you hold any of the artists that you listen to any type of social responsibility based on your listenership and say, oh, if this artist is saying this and doing one thing, I'll maybe fall back. Do you hold them accountable for that, or is it just purely music for you, regardless of what they do?
I think for me it's purely music.
Okay.
But I also think my place to judge any of that as a white person, not
Okay.
where I need to be.
I'm put you on the spot right now.
All right.
I need top 5.
Oh.
And I don't want to limit you to Nashville.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say Tennessee.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say Tennessee artists. I don't know if limited to Nashville.
I'm
is that
limited to
better?
Nashville.
Is that
That makes
better
it-
for you?
yes, that's better for me.
Okay,
Yes.
let's go.
Yes.
And then I might still want the top 5 Tennessee.
That's tough. So
Let's go
top 5
Nashville.
Tennessee in no particular order.
No
I think
particular order.
Obviously Lido and Buck.
Okay, so that's
up
2.
there. Yeah, Kwani.
Kwani Cash,
Paper, City Paper.
City Paper.
Fifth one's a tough one because I
I
mean,
think you forgetting something. I'm gonna be really
oh my
surprised
God.
if you forget one like that came before all of them.
with Cool Daddy Fresh or Pistol.
One of
Them two. Like,
guys-
how can you go 5? Man?
I don't-
I wasn't
you-
here for either one of those movements that were hard. I
Me,
came
I,
right in.
I had to have older cousins put me
Yeah.
on, like
I
especially
had-
Cool Daddy Fresh and Pistol.
Pistol, yeah.
Yeah.
I came during Kwani. Kwani was the guy when
Okay.
I came, and then shortly after it was Buck. Shortly after that it was Lido.
Okay.
And then
So
shortly
you got
after
a
that was
starting
Paper.
5. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's my top
That's your
6.
top. That's your top 6
Yeah.
in Nashville.
In Nashville,
Now,
yeah.
if we had to go Tennessee,
That's tough.
you don't even want to try.
That's tough because I mean you got Ball and G.
It's all tough.
3-6.
It's a top 5. It's supposed to be tough. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
hard.
I know.
It's supposed to be hard.
Can I do the as a white person? It's not my place to judge.
No, you can't
I
do that
can't
right now. You can't do that. You a DJ. You
I already played that
in
card.
the DJ. This is a professional question in your space.
I mean, I think
We need
that's
to
tough
know.
because I think I mean you.
You know,
look back-
people gonna hold you to
I
this.
mean, you look at what Ball and G and 3-6 Mafia did for the entire state.
right.
You know what I mean?
That'd be
Like,
2 as a group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ball and G, 3-6 Mafia. I mean, Yo Gotti,
Okay, it's 3.
Lido Buck, Moneybag Yo. That's 3 more.
A lot of Dolph fans.
Yeah.
A lot of Dolph fans is mad
yes.
right now.
Dolph, yes, Dolph. I mean,
That's a lot though.
it's just too much to
it's-
live down.
okay, but that's
I
a
think
good
Ball and
6,
G and
7.
3-6 Mafia. I think you go kind of 1 and 2 somewhere,
Okay.
just because
For Tennessee.
Tennessee there
Okay.
is.
I think
I don't
that's
think there's a movement without them.
as we wind it down, I want to ask you this. Do you feel like you get enough credit, personally, for your influence and what you have brought to the city of Nashville and Middle Tennessee. Why and why not?
I don't know. I don't know that that's on me to. I remember a quote by Walter Payton is,
Okay.
If you're good, you tell people. If you're great, people tell you.
Okay.
And I try to live by that.
Okay.
I try to live by like, look, man, if I'm doing a good job, people are gonna tell me. It's gonna show ratings, longevity,
Right.
these things. And it has.
Okay.
And I have had plenty of people say, yo, like just last year was my 20th year with the beat in December. It's almost 21
Oh,
now.
wow.
It'll be 21 years in December this year.
Congratulations.
And anytime I make those posts on like Instagram or anything like that, like the comments light up.
Yeah.
And it really does like feel good.
Right.
But I don't need that every day of my life.
Yeah, well, you getting your flowers here.
Thank you.
You gonna
I
get them, you know
appreciate
what I'm saying? You
it.
gonna
I
get them,
appreciate
and
it.
hopefully you get them from all the people that's watching and listening to this, because I don't know how many people like physically tell you to your face, but man, like you don't, like we had to grow up on you though.
Yeah,
Like,
man, I
we had
appreciate
to
it.
grow up on you on the radio. If we wanted to listen to hip hop here in the inner city or throughout Middle Tennessee, we had you in school.
And I
thank
hope it
y'all.
was enjoyable
Yeah,
for you.
nah,
You
it
know what I
was.
mean? Like,
that's why
that's
you're
the
here. That's
thing,
what we
right?
talking. If it wasn't, like, nah, I don't think I want to. Man, I want to end with this. What's next? Why haven't you started a label or something like that? Like, what's next for you musically, especially now since like independency, how you can do things, streaming and all that is just kind of shifted. Radio has shifted. There's a lot of more options and avenues that one, especially with your background and experience and knowledge, could do. Are we getting a Dolewite label? You gonna start a Nashville powerhouse? Like, we want to know.
I take opportunities as they come.
Okay.
I really do enjoy the podcast space.
Okay.
As you do.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I enjoy having those longer, deeper conversations where I can, be a little more serious. I enjoy that. I don't know about starting a label myself. I don't know if that's something that I would want to do.
Right.
Down the line, if one of these, I mean, we have every major label here in Nashville. If one of them wanted to start like a hip hop, branch out to hip hop, and they reached out to me, I would listen.
Hey man, you're a white man in America. You can do it. You can do anything you want to. You can start a label today if you want to. People will come.
Yeah.
That's me in Nashville. I think we need that though. I think we need that here for the city.
Everything that you need, everything that a Nashville artist needs is right there on Music Row.
Right.
Every major label.
Right.
You just get one of these guys to take a chance.
Yeah, but I want to give you a last word though. If it's anything around Nashville music or something you just want to share that we didn't really touch on, but I want to give you that space to just really hit on before we close out.
Just gratitude, man. Like, the city's never failed me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean, almost 21 years now. You don't see that in this industry. You don't see radio personalities last in one market for 21 years. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
There's not many. I think, with the exception of maybe Woody and Jim on 107.5 The River. Shout out to Woody and Jim. Those are my guys. I don't know that anybody in the city has been doing it longer than I have and been on air consistently for that period of time. So, but that doesn't happen without if people don't like you or people don't respond to you, people aren't there for you.
Right.
So, it's been
because you're a white man,
white man in America, I can do anything. Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, but the city has definitely embraced me, man, and I do appreciate it. And I think, career-wise, I've always said, I think my most proud moment was when we unveiled the sign for Scoop Street, and just to see that and what we meant to or mean to the city is I still can't really wrap my mind around it. So thank you.
Well, man, thank you for being here, taking the time to just talk, and like I know people gonna love this. Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
The flowers. I'm just gonna
you.
keep giving them to you because I really think that's crucial, that's important, and I think that motivates people to keep going. And so, Dolewite, Flowers Moore, thank you for your time.
Thank you, man.
And thank y'all for watching another episode of the Slice of the Community, and we'll see y'all next time.